So Ravens flock. This past Thursday, the Ravens were able to beat the Indianapolis Colts 24-16 and get our 2025 season off on the right note. And I wanted to look back at some of the notable moments as well as players who stood out in good and bad ways. I'm going to try to be somewhat realistic, but at the same time, it's way more fun to do overreactions. But at the same time, we all know that overreacting in the preseason, it doesn't always help when it comes to figuring out which players are actually going to matter. But you could find a middle ground, so that's fine. We did not get off to a good start in this game. Cooper Rush literally threw a pick to start the game off. He was targeting Dayton Wade, ended up getting picked off. The Colts player made a solid play on the ball. But I want to focus now on things that actually did get me excited. One of the main things on defense was actually Jalen Armour-Davis, who he's somebody who I wasn't even expecting him to make the roster in the next couple of weeks. However, with the way he flashed in this game, as well as the fact that unfortunately Bilal Cohn got injured in this game, so he's gonna miss time, as well as it was recently announced that Robert Longerbeam is dealing with like a knee injury, so he's gonna miss time. He's on injured reserve. So the two guys that were brought in to, presumably, kick JAD off the team, unfortunately they're hurt. So hey, he looks a lot better than I was expecting him to look. Not that I thought that he was a bad player, but just I wasn't really expecting a whole lot from him in the preseason or the regular season. But now the opportunity for him is still kind of there to at the very least provide solid depth at the cornerback position. But maybe for some of the people who were throwing ideas out there that maybe they may move Jalen Armour-Davis to safety so he could be like that third safety alongside Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks that they throw out there on 3 safety sets. Maybe that's the case. He definitely was making plays, multiple pass breakups. At a certain point, I wasn't even sure why they were still targeting him because he kept making them pay over and over again. So that was very exciting to see. Also, what was exciting, to pivot back to offense, Keaton Mitchell looked like he was back to his old self. He was looking explosive. He was making people miss. He was juking people. He obviously got that touchdown on that drive early in the game, which was nice to see. As far as our offensive line, I thought they looked okay, honestly. Not that's me trying to be nice. I thought they looked pretty bad, but it's still yet to be seen if that's what it's going to be in the regular season. I'm excited that Andrew Voorhees actually looked decent, which I didn't have the highest expectation for him. I still don't. When it comes to the battle that was supposed to be happening between Andrew Voorhees and Ben Cleveland, I've said many times that I don't think either one of them is necessarily going to be a stud, but at the very least, can one of these guys just emerge as like a solid starter who we don't have to be scared about playing every single week? And it looks like maybe Voorhees has gotten to that point in going into like his third season now, so that's exciting. I, like many other people, believe the real battle should be at right guard. Harbaugh has, for whatever reason, he has this strong bias in favor of Daniel Falele. And on one hand, I get it. I've said many times, I get from a measurable standpoint why they want to make Daniel Falele work so badly. Like, the dude's like 6'8", a crazy length, and he's like 400 pounds. You want that guy to do well. But the fact of the matter is he still looks as mediocre as ever. And it's a shame to see. Like, you're watching him in a preseason game get dominated. That's the last thing you want to see for a guy who, and again, this is why we all know that Pro Bowl vote that he got was fraudulent. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, he clearly is not a Pro Bowl caliber player. Like, there's no reason a Pro Bowl caliber player should be going out there against second and third team defensive linemen for the Colts and he's getting pancaked. Like, I understand he tripped over the center's foot. However, regardless of that trip, he clearly was going to go down. Like, he was getting ran over regardless. And that makes me very nervous as far as what our offense can be, because even though I still think we could do just fine, I think Todd Monken and Lamar and Derrick Henry and these guys can still work around it. That that's still the last thing you want to see, especially when Ben Cleveland could potentially be, at the very least, a solid option to consider. That's the more offensive part, is the fact that it feels like Harbaugh is so stubborn that he doesn't even want to consider Ben Cleveland. Because again, you can't justify just handing the job to Falele at this point when he still, despite all the press this year, this offseason, about him training with some of the best offensive line trainers in the country, all the press about players on the Ravens trying to give him credit and say he's working so hard or whatever, it still doesn't look, he still looks the same. So at some point you have to start wondering, are they finally gonna put their pride to the side and their bias to the side and just let Ben Cleveland or somebody go out there and compete? Maybe Emory Jones comes back from his shoulder issue earlier in the season and maybe they let him compete, or go sign Brandon Sheriff or somebody. We'll see, because that's the main thing that made me the most nervous after watching this game. But to pivot back to defense, David Ojabo made some plays. He looked impressive. Mainly the main play I was thinking of was that play where unfortunately Anthony Richardson got hurt, but at the very least you want to see in a situation like that where David Ojabo is he gets a free release. You want to see him finish the job. He did that. That's all you can really ask for. Mike Green and Adisa Isaac, they made a few plays, got us. Well, I don't think they credited Mike Green with that sack. However, they were getting pressure, which was very exciting to see. But the obvious star of the show was Lajohntay Wester, by far, making plays. He got a 17-yard return on one punt, or I believe, it was either a punt or a kick return, most likely a punt. 17-yard return, and then after that, later in the game, he takes a 87-yard punt. He takes a punt back 87 yards to the house, and it's not even just like a straight line running situation. He was making people miss and making people look silly and making these plays. And then even when you seen him get some reps on offense, he still looked promising on that end too. He's making adjustments to the ball, actually coming back to the ball in a situation where I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Cooper Rush was the QB in at that moment who underthrew a pass. He came back to it, got it along the sidelines. That's exactly what you want to see. I know many people, they're looking at him and expecting him to only be a punt return, like a special teams guy, but again, even though he may not be at the top of our depth chart in the wide receiver room, when you look, the main thing I kept saying when they drafted him is, when you look at the guy in college, it was very clear that wherever he went, he was able to produce in one way or another, and that still means something. And I'm assuming the coaching staff is taking note of that as well. He's obviously showing that whether you put him on the outside or you put him in the slot, you put him in special teams, he's going to contribute somehow. So I'm really excited about that. As far as other things that happened in this game, Devin Leary is still trash. Again, Devin Leary is still the reason why I'm not a big fan of hoarding all these picks. Because when you draft a guy like Devin Leary, I still can't wrap my head around why this man is still on this team, taking up a roster spot. It doesn't make sense. We would have been better off keeping that other guy, Emory Jones, from last year. He's still, he has to be like one of the 3 worst quarterbacks in football. There's not much else to say about that. I like seeing that play where Bo Bray saved a touchdown. UDFA Jay Higgins, the linebacker, he actually made a nice play where he ended up he made a couple of plays, but most notably the play where he jumped up to get that pick and snatch it out the sky. I was very impressed with that. Kind of makes you wonder, is he gonna be competing for not just a roster spot, but could he be a sneaky contestant in the battle, the competition of trying to get that available roster spot for the starting linebacker spot that we assume is going to Trenton Simpson, but there's a chance it may go to Teddy Buchanan. Now you got to wonder, is Jay Higgins going to keep making plays and forcing the issue to where he ends up stealing the show? I don't care which one of them wins that starting job. I just want to see somebody who's going to be competent to where Roquan doesn't have to feel the need to overcompensate for them. Tyler Loop, he ended up going 1 for 2. I don't think this is something to worry about just yet, because The one he did make was actually from further out, but at the same time, we need you to be perfect. Like, again, it's a small sample size. It's literally 2 field goals. Time will tell. We'll know for sure really by like week 7, because I think our bye is week 8. So there's gonna be at least another 2 months for us to see where Tyler Loop is and what should they do. Hopefully, Tyler Loop, he has the leg strength, obviously. Hopefully, he can just be more accurate. Easier said than done. I'm still optimistic, to be honest with you, but we'll see. Let me know, was there anything from this Ravens Colts game that you took away from? Is there any players that you're really excited about, or do you think it's too early to tell?